And really, when it comes to the North Central Healthcare pool tonight, if you could just explain what was discussed at tonight's meeting when it comes to that.
Well, there's a great deal of complexity about how you schedule a vote. People think, well, just vote this month and that'll be over with. But the board expects that there will be private contribution to fundraising, so we have to give them some targets. The other problem is, I'm not sure you can raise money in the community effectively until the county is committed that they're going to raise some money on its own. So how we put those pieces together, along with the statutory requirements for bond counsel and notice and public hearings and stuff like that, is really a dilemma. And what the board decided to do was to ask the two standing committee chairs to work with staff and come up with something that's a recommended process. Not that it'll be perfect, but that it'll take into account all the various factors and give the issue a fair hearing. The goal is to have maximum participation by the board with high quality information, and whatever decision the board makes will be the right one.
And is there a timetable of when those committee chairs can bring that information back to the board?
It's expected to come back to the executive committee next month.
Okay.
A draft of it, and we can continue to discuss that. They're not going to want to vote on this in July because participation historically is low because of many vacations and stuff like that. So I'm anticipating that we're going to be talking about some kind of vote in September.
And I know there wasn't a number set on what you're looking for the community to raise, and there was a little discussion about that. In your mind, what would be a fair number for the community to come up with?
You know what, fair, sometimes I call that the F word. I don't know what that means. But the North Central Healthcare Foundation has suggested $1.5 million. That's an aggressive goal. I think that county board members are thinking more like $2 million, but somewhere in between $1.5 million and $2 million raised privately is, I think, where it's going to land.
And another thing that was on the agenda tonight was the wheel tax referendum. If you could
Yes.
just kind of explain what was discussed when it comes to that.
Well, we have a wheel tax that expires in November. There's a new bill out there that says you couldn't continue or start a new wheel tax without a citizen referendum. The problem with that is it's hard to say that the revenue, how the revenue will be used. Certainly there's sufficient expenses in transportation that it'll be used for that, so it won't be illegal. But to have somebody who's voting on a referendum understand all of the range of the county's programs is really a big challenge. It's hard for the board to understand all that. That's why we have a consultant working with us. Because what people say then is, well, I don't want to pay the wheel tax, but I still want the high quality roads, so cut something else. Well, what is something else? And the minute you identify anything, that ain't it. So, they want to cut libraries, they don't want to cut parks, they don't want to cut educational services, they don't want to cut anything that you can identify, if you're just non-specific. So the question is, if a referendum really forces the decision makers, now the voting public, to wrestle with the true trade-offs, or if that's really a responsibility of the board as their representatives. And
so if this bill does go through, there would have to be a referendum vote from the voters then, correct?
Yes, there would have to be a referendum vote, and it'd be periodic. It wouldn't be just forever either, so you get used to it, and it'd be a lot like a school referendum. Except for a school does one thing. A county does so many things the public don't know that the public information campaign would have to be extensive.
And how periodic would that vote have to be, do you know?
I just don't know. I don't know that's in the bill either, but I know that you get an approval for it once, doesn't mean you got it forever.
And so I know it's still in the early stages, but has there been any discussion on when that vote would have to take place for the wheel tax in Marathon County?
I don't know when it would have to take place, but I do know that you cannot just authorize it once and have that be good for a lifetime. It's going to be a periodic, regular voting requirement.
And then the ultimate decision from the board tonight was to refer to the infrastructure and transportation committees?
Yes, to take a look at not only the wheel tax referendum, but also the adequacy of state revenues to support both the state highway infrastructure and the county highway infrastructure from gas tax and other sources. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add on about either issue?
No, I think we're making good progress on a number of fronts. The aquatic therapy pool debate can't get over soon enough for me. And I know that there's all these things that need to be taken into account and sequencing. I've been wrestling with this issue and getting calls for 7 years. And people still don't understand that I'm not going to vote on this. I sent out the fact sheet that you saw in the packet as part of our county blog. And people wrote back, you need to include this. This is my opinion. Oh, see, it's a fact that's your opinion. I got that, but we're not including your opinion on this. Are my facts wrong? So far, nobody's identified anything that's wrong. They have additional facts that may be considered to be put in there. Some of them seem irrelevant to me, but trying to keep a succinct answer and a short answer to be meaningful to the board is a challenge with a whole bunch of people cooking into it too, all offering input. But I think it's an interesting experiment to say, here's a set of facts the committee discovered. These are the questions the county board said they wanted answered. Here's succinct answers to each one. And at least we shouldn't be arguing about what the facts are, we should just be arguing about what your opinions are.